this is the agenda that we have planned for today. So I'll set the objectives up front in the next slide. Then the current landscape. So as per what we understand about your ministry and the departments within, and our vision, maybe that we would like to question here for you to kind of have a look, see whether that's something that encourages you to kind of adapt. And then a quick video of what is happening globally. Maybe a case study out of it, connecting some of your data strategies within your department. Strategic use case for Ministry of Finance and implementation roadmap, and what are the key phases of a data strategy. So this is mainly in a nutshell that I would like to cover. So objectives: strengthening fiscal transparency and accountability. I think this is something that currently the government is driving, the transparency for the citizens of what the ministry is currently doing, the finance ministry, the plan, the budget cycles, where our tax money is going, what projects are being implemented. That transparency is something that the government is trying to give. So in doing so, how can the data strategy align to it? How can the data strategy be with it for this enabling this strategy, strengthen the financial transparency. Secondly, digitize financial workflows across departments. So this is another strategy that we have seen the government is aiming to do. The digital adoption quite increasingly being implemented. So in that format, how can the data discovery as well as having the right data strategy could help? Enhance interoperability. We have seen systems in isolation, or the ministries or the departments work in isolation. The systems within a department even work in isolation. So how do you connect those dots? How do you connect the data points, the accurate data points, and having that holistic view of your data stack? Then leveraging AI, predictive insights in budgeting and reporting. So this is one other key area where the world is evolving. So leveraging AI, which is evolving on a daily basis. What we discussed today will not be tomorrow's world in AI. So that is also something that needs to be discussed in a forum of this nature. Right. So understanding the current status, the challenges of data silos. So what is the what are the challenges that we see in data being scattered at the moment, right? So fragmented systems, many systems that are used by the ministry, the departments. For example, maybe IRD is using a system that might be using a different database, different infrastructure, maybe a legacy system. Whereas another department like your customs or border control must be using a different system. So in that isolation, whether you are getting the right insight into the data is something that is hindering. Lack of interoperability, I spoke about it. Data quality sharing, the quality of the data that you gather. Does it have the right insights? Does it give you the right insight for your decision making, for the future decision making? Then the organizational barriers. Change management would be something that is needed. Changing our mindsets on adapting into the technologies as well as use of the right data is something that might be a situation that we would need to address. So these are a few challenges that we have seen, and what is the impact of those challenges is something that we'll have to drill into. So delayed decisions, because if you don't have information, timely information, maybe the information, if it is old, if it is 1 week old information that we are referring to, the decision would be not accurate as accurate that when you take the data that is up to date, right? So that is something that one impact that I would say. The inefficient allocation. When the data is not allocated properly, when you don't see the right the insights of the data, that will have an impact. Limited policy, when the right policies are not there, the impact that comes with it. Increased costs and fraud vulnerability. So increased costs will happen. You will not be able to budget properly. You will not be able to predict the exact investment needed. You will not be able to understand what is the outcome of the whole decision that you're going to take. So likewise, that's an area that concerns as well. In the fraud, as I said, vulnerabilities on fraud can trigger when you don't have the right structures and the data. So our vision for the future, what we thought is it's five steps. You are actually in the right direction. The government is in the right direction of digital first operations. There's GovPay, there's ENIC coming in, the PKI project coming in. So all those things happening where the digital strategy is quite clear. Departments in isolation are working on those projects. Right. Standardized governance, second step. With clear policies and standards, getting the real insights with implementation of these digital strategies, and single source of truth. Having the single source of truth is very important, because in a data set, if you don't know the right data of an individual or an institution, your decisions will be determined by false information maybe. So going forward, we will see how we do this, how we acquire all the data sources and bring a 360-degree view of a data set. Then the unified data ecosystem. So those 5 steps are the vision for an integrated data landscape, which is something that a government should adopt. So having data sets coming from different departments, consolidating the data, having that right view. At the top, you should be able to see what the whole ministry is operating. At the same time, at each level should have the access to the right set of data. So governance of data is quite important as well. Right. So combating under invoicing and tax evasion. So there's a small case study also that we want to push in a global context. This is a video that 3 minutes 29 seconds. We will just quickly look through that and come back. I think it's a classic use case of maybe how data can help combat this kind of challenge, right?
So in this use case that we have thought about is two departments under Ministry of Finance, one being the IRD and the other one being the Customs. I'm not sure whether those two are interconnected in terms of having the same single database. Is that the case? Is the database consolidated within those two? By APIs. Okay. So but there's human intervention to kind of gauge it. Yeah. So that's a really good sign. You are sharing data at the moment, but if you can share the data on a platform, automated, I think that is something that would really help, because if you look at this use case, so basically we have the challenges we have seen are importers understate goods, right? The value of goods for reduced import. Then entities under report. So just to avoid corporate taxes, they will give this thing. So having a look at this kind of a use case, if the data is consolidated, there should be a trigger to say that, okay, there is something wrong here. Anomaly that needs to be understood. The system should trigger an alert for further review. So this is what the use case is. So say for instance, an importer declares $50,000 electronics to the customs, right? They are bringing down $50,000 worth of electronics. IRD at the same time receives an income statement showing only $20,000. So there is an anomaly. There is a problem there where, obviously it has to be either 50,000 being recorded or 20,000 should be the right one. So what we are saying is, if the data is consolidated, if systems are consolidated, there should be a trigger to say that, okay, there is an anomaly that which needs to be further reviewed. So an investigation can be carried out. These are the steps that we feel should be adapted in the ideal scenario. So likewise, if you look at other departments also, maybe having border control, the immigration connected, or maybe the other departments connected into a single database, having that single view, identify these kind of anomalies. So what is getting in the way? These are all global research companies have done certain researches and have identified that with bad data, it can cost 30% of the total revenue to any organization. So if you are not having the right set of data, that will have a big impact on your bottom line. The siloed data, 95% of enterprise data is unusable. So I wanted to ask the question first, how much do you think that we are using out of our total data set? What percentage are we really using? So the studies show that it's below 10%, any organization. So if that is the case, how do we really monetize this data set that we have is something that we'll have to really think about. Then US statistics shows that some Fortune 1000 companies boost revenue by 2.1 billion just by additional 10% of usage of data. So these are all research companies. I think the data is coming from Forrester, Gartner, and so that, before I move on to the journey of and the stages of data, right? So this, I feel, is the modern ideal architecture for a data journey. I actually nicked it from Salesforce. Salesforce is one of our partners, so I got the permission to use this slide. I'll quickly explain the slide to you. On the far left side, or far right to me, are the data sources, right? So you will have data your structured data coming from your databases. You might have different databases in use, Oracle, MySQL, DB2, whatever. So that is maybe structured data that you use, first party data that actually you consume in your systems, right? Then you will have the business ops or the cloud data, the data that is coming from through the internet, social media data. Everything could be data that you consume. PDF data, the emails, data on Excels, the unstructured data, everything. So all that is your asset, right? It's something that you own, your data. So the ideal situation is, how do you extract this data as a single platform? The whole every source that you get the data from, you extract it to one particular platform, and you kind of cleanse it. You use it. You make sure that every data set has the same rule, same engine, same structure. That is, why do you do that? You need to have reasonable explanation of that data set, right? You need to understand what that data set talks about. So in the second stage, the harmonize and unity. So you extract the data through APIs and SDKs, and you have the data stored in your data lake house. We used to have data warehouses, then you used to have data lakes. Now they have combined together, it's a data lake house. So bringing everything into a data lake house will actually give you harmonized data. You can resolve your customer identities. You can have a 360-degree view of your customer. So that's what the master data management would do. This stage is very important, because this is where you cleanse your data and have that right articulation on the data stack. Then you have to have a governance practice, which is very important, because you need to know who owns what data, who should have access to what data, what is sensitive data, what is considered data that can be used by everyone, right? And if there are regulations like GDPR laws and all that, how do you govern your data set according to that? Because these are very important. We are working with the IMF, we are working with all these global organizations. They would really want to know how we manage data as a country, right? So in that sense, this would be something very important. Then the fourth stage, segment and predict. So that is where you actually take actions on your data. How the data can be used, how can you monetize your data is something that comes into this stage. When you come to this stage, you can decide how you share your data with your partners. Maybe how you share your data with your what is it? Bank this thing. Let's check on script. How do you share your data with the crypt? So I mean, maybe you can monetize your data there. All the commercial banks are looking at the crypt, right? So giving data to a third party, second party consumers is something that you can really look at in terms of monetizing your data. So even though at this stage your data doesn't have a monetary value, you can give a monetary value to it by actually using it accurately. Then comes the real AI stage, where you can use this cleansed data, this really the data that is coming with the insights for your future applications like agentic AI, Gen AI kind of environments. So this is kind of a data architecture we feel that is very relevant to the modern day. And one other thing is, you don't keep your exact data set, you don't take it, it's only the metadata that you carry. So that's why it says 0 copy at the bottom. So are you aware of what is metadata? Okay, so for the benefit of everyone, metadata is like the cover of a book, right? Which talks about what the book has, what the book states. So if you look at the cover, you should be able to know, okay, this book talks about maybe about it's an autobiography or something related to science or something like that, and it should have the date, the author, and all that details. So it's the metadata is like the book cover without the book. So the book resides in the actual database, and these applications will only touch on the metadata. So they will keep a copy of the metadata. Whenever they want to process through the metadata, they will go and access the exact data set. Right, I'll go into the 6 stages of data journey. These are the stages that we feel an organization should adopt if they are getting into this particular data journey of monetizing data. Start from discovery and assessment. So this is like the key, most important step, I think, in this journey, because you have to really get this right first. Because the foundational phase is where you identify what are the data sources, who owns it, where are we getting it from, and making sure that you're accessing the right data sources. So getting this right would be very important. So identifying the data sources as the first stage of data discovery and assessment. Then the data integration and ingestion. So seamless integration ensures all relevant data is accessible and ready for further processing and analysis. You need to ingest the data, consolidate data from disparate sources and centralized repositories. You can use ETL, ELT tools, extract, trans and load, or extract, load and transfer. You extract the data first, you transform it, and you can load it to your source systems. So once you have that right record in your repository, to understand how you process that data, how you identify that data, what do you gather from that data, and having it in a metadata environment would be very important. Third is the data quality and cleansing. So this is the step before you actually do the master data management, where you have the process part completed, where you look at the data set, ensure the accuracy and consistency of the completeness. So data needs to be properly looked at and assessed, cleaned, and make it a high quality data set. Then the fourth step is the master data management. This is another very important step in the data journey. My phone number might not be the latest phone number that I'm using. So you bring all that data into the master data management. You look at all the possibilities, look at the anomalies, look at what is the most latest record, and create that master record. Golden master record will give you a 360 degree view of each data set, people, of the person, as well as on the other hand, on a organization or any data set. And so this is another key important area. So you would see the master data management, who are the stakeholders, right? So all the data stewards, compliance, IT, business analysts, everywhere you need to gather that data. And Ministry of Finance can have all maybe 16 departments, you say. 16 departments, if it is consolidated, just imagine the level of data clarity that you will get. It will give you an understanding of individuals who are actually paying taxes. Is there a possibility of somebody not paying taxes? Can somebody be evading taxes? Maybe on a customs point of view, the triggers can be the same. In your procurement systems, procurement procedures, you can look at whether those institutions that you're procuring from, are they actually paying taxes? I think that was one of the areas that I think Kitsiri spoke about last time as well when he was presenting. So in your procurement process, if you look at that as also as a pre-qualification area, taxes need to be properly paid and something like that. So, and also the crib, giving that data set into the crib, the banks can benefit, the citizens can benefit as well. It can be faster turnaround times. The data will be accurate, and you can have predictive analysis on people's behaviors, right? So having the master data management where you get the golden master record is very important in the data journey. Then the data catalog and metadata management. So this is very important when you're looking at the next phases of Gen AI and agentic AI process coming in. So basically, agentic AI would help to get an agent to look at all the repetitive work, right? So that's the norm. So basically, if there is a repetitive work that needs to be done, an agent should be able to do it. So we have had conversational agents. We had agents the knowledge base is quite rapidly increasing in agents. So those 3 or 4 phases that we have passed on agentic AI, now we have come to, we call it the ambient agents, right? So the ambient agents can work with another agent, and that both agents can take orders from another agent. So to that level, the artificial intelligence have increased up to that. So you can minimize the human errors. I was talking to one of the analytical heads at a bank, commercial bank, very recently, and he was saying, look, we can't access the crib as per our wish. We just can't go and look at the crib on somebody, because if that person gets to know, they have the record of who had looked at the crib. If they come back and say that we have looked at the crib, I have not even applied for a loan, they can actually sue them. So they are finding it a bit of it's a huge problem, because just one digit here and there, when somebody is searching for the crib record, can go to a wrong crib record, right? So they are looking at having an agent for that kind of engagement, where you get an agent because you completely take off the human errors that can happen. So likewise, for that, this area is quite important, having the data cataloging and metadata management, because most of those agentic AIs and the new technology will only keep record of the metadata. So the metadata needs to be clean, metadata needs to be right. Otherwise, it will be a wrong record that they will have. So that's why I spoke about the master data management, where you actually make the metadata, start of the metadata process at the master data management, having the 360-degree view, then this managing the metadata at this stage is quite important. And finally, it's also very important, especially for a government organization, because you are having a lot of regulatory requirements, dealing with other countries. There must be certain governance that you are working on. So having the right practices on governance, privacy and compliance is also very crucial. So this is where you understand what is the sensitivity of the data set, what level of security is needed for that data set, and who should have the authority to access it. So with that, I think the 6 stages are completed.